I think we can all agree that Persona 5 Royal and Metaphor ReFantazio have something unique, something a little extra, something that makes them feel different to other video game experiences. The way I personally try to put it into words is that playing these games is like watching your favorite anime or reading your favorite book, except you get to be the main character and you get to actively participate in the story and drive it forward, not just watch. If you are able to allow yourself to fully immerse in these games, the experience will remain with you for the rest of your life. All of that is a big reason why I wanted to make this video, because probably the most signature thing these games share is the concept of awakening. When characters awaken, it can be a goosebump-inducing moment in which you watch somebody you are deeply and personally rooting for have a breakthrough that alters the course of their life. It's like watching your best friend get engaged to a great person, or watching them finally change their worst trait for the better. So, I thought it would be really fun for us to revisit all of these emotional moments and rank them in a tier list. Quick disclaimer, I know that my list will almost definitely look different to yours. That's okay. If you have a different opinion, let me know, and I completely respect that and you. Honestly, I look forward to hearing from y'all just as much when you disagree, because sometimes I learn a new way to think about a character or a story beat that I just hadn't thought of before. My last note before we start is that, honestly, the animation in Metaphor Awakening scenes is straight up lacking compared to Persona 5. It's most notable in the rigidity of the facial expressions in Metaphor, so we're gonna try our best to ignore that so the playing field is level. Anyways, let's get into the video, y'all. Okay, so Akechi. Peak, peak, peak. And I say this as somebody who doesn't like Akechi. It's not that I don't like Akechi as a character, I just don't like him as a person, if that makes sense. I know there's a big contingent of people who like Akechi and feel sorry for him, but I don't know. I just feel like, for the most part, he didn't really do anything to garner sympathy for me. Akechi had a rough life. Is that an excuse to go on a murdering rampage in which many innocent lives were a part of a pointless collateral? Also that he could achieve his very specific vision of revenge? He had plenty of opportunities to take the exit ramp too, especially after he met Joker, but he stuck to his ways all the way until the very end, when he finally decided to sacrifice his life to support the Phantom Thieves. I have digressed long enough though. Let's talk about the Loki reveal. There had been build up to this from all the way back in Madarame's palace. Something these games are great at is delivering payoff to seeds that are planted in some cases over 30 plus hours of gameplay ago. This moment more than delivered. After Akechi loses the first round of the fight, he fully crashes out and reveals his original true persona, Loki. His monologue is absolutely deranged and finally at last reveals how unhinged Akechi is. Also, side note, Loki is an amazing persona design, one of my favorites. This moment also comes at a critical juncture in the story too. You are infiltrating Cheeto's palace, who is your biggest op, and as you progress you are shown scenes of Akechi on the outside, slowly piecing things together and realizing that you're alive and that he got played. Man, the build-up is just so good when it comes to this awakening. Akechi's voice acting also deserves praise because the range of his performance is absolutely Hall of Fame. The entire game he talks to you in his gentle, calculating voice as he has his ace detective facade to uphold. But in this sequence, he sounds like an entirely different person, both in his diction and vocal deliveries. What can I say? Akechi is absolutely S tier.
Go psychotic! Now, let's see you drop dead one at a time in front of your precious friends!
Damn it, he's lost it! Here comes!
Die! The trash of society!
Okay, so I don't even know what to say. It's okay, I guess. The symbolism is a bit on the nose as she literally cuts Kamoshida's cognitive version of herself in half, which of course lets you know, on top of the persona awakening, that An is rejecting her past submissive self and ready to fight for justice. It's all well and good. I find as I think back to how I initially felt while playing it the first time, and as I think about it now, I just don't have any deep emotions about it. C tier.
Now it's your turn! I will rob you of everything!
How dare you! Enough of your insolence!
Basilio. So this is definitely one of the more unique awakenings on the list. The tone isn't triumphant at all, it's completely somber. Obviously this is most accentuated by Basilio's iconic goodbye to his brother and his grief-stricken cry afterwards. I love that they allow the Brevis Magnus a chance to have one final goodbye. I don't think there is much to say on this one, but I'll just say that it was executed about as good as it could have been for an awakening with a different tone. I wonder if they could have had a more profound atmosphere or backdrop as opposed to just this random blue space for Basilio's awakening, but other than that, no real complaints to make. A tier.
See you around, Del.
Futaba. So this awakening centers around grief and the struggle to remember our loved ones after they pass for the entire content of their character rather than a super romanticized or de-glamorized version of them. This is a universal experience humans will go through at some point in their lives, and I respect the narrative decision to showcase this struggle through Futaba. It's honestly executed in a believable way, so kudos. The setting is probably about as dope as it can get. You're on top of a pyramid in the middle of the desert, and this awakening is actually placed at the climax of the palace rather than at the beginning, so there's an added gravitas that I really appreciate. Also, I have to mention, this awakening has one of the dopest shots in the game. This is an S tier awakening.
Contract. I am thou. Thou art I. The forbidden wisdom has been revealed. No mysteries. No illusions shall deceive you any longer.
Futaba!
I'm okay.
Look at that!
Please, help me.
That's gotta go!
Haru. Okay, so it's something about this is corny to me. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. When it comes to my own personal enjoyment of games, a big factor that affects that scale is whether or not I'm able to be immersed. I try my best to just turn my brain off and really get into things, but something about this awakening just makes me cringe. That farewell, dear father, and then she hits that pose. I'm just like, damn, like, go off, I guess. I mean, no disrespect if you do like this awakening, fair play. Maybe it's just because this is my least favorite section of the game too, in terms of storylines, but I actually do like Haru a lot, so I don't know if that should affect my feelings on her awakening. For me personally, I gotta say D tier.
Now tell me, who shall you betray?
My heart has been set. You should know.
Yes, that gaze! I can finally display my true strength! I am thou, thou art I! Let us adorn your departure into freedom with a beautiful betrayal!
Jeez!
Farewell, dear father. I am no longer your subservient puppet!
Then so be it. You're worthless.
Heismay. Okay, so definitely a few of my favorite quotes come from Heismay's awakening. Heismay talks about taking accountability for shutting himself away from the world. He talks about how you can't change the past, but you should consider it as you continue on to your future. He talks about the trajectory of your life not being solely tied down to the conditions you're born into and how you have the agency to change things. I think Heismay's awakening probably has the most universally applicable messages that almost anybody can apply to their own lives. Take accountability, don't be a prisoner of the past, but use it as your own personal advocate. And if you are born into difficult circumstances, try your best not to despair and try to work your way up day by day. Obviously, that last one could be considered a little insensitive, or at least it is to me. A lot of people in life have unbelievable hardships, and then those with privilege gaslight them and say shit like, just work hard, bro, that's what I did. But I like the core message from Heismay, which is basically just that no matter what you're born into, try your best. As far as aesthetics here, Heismay flying around is cool and all, and the moon is cool and all, but it comes across more so as, well, this would look cool, as opposed to having any symbolism or layered meaning. Additionally, the story context here doesn't have a ton of weight. Bro is facing down Morris, who's just a dirty little rat, to be fair, not really a major villain or antagonist in my book. To be more clear, the stakes of the moment itself are lacking for me, so I think it's a really good awakening, but ultimately I'm thinking B tier.
I am Heismay Noctul. I believe the arc of life depends not upon birth. By these hands, soiled or sinless, I fight!
Hulkenberg. Okay, so I do love the idea that the prince being alive is what sparks the ember of Hulkenberg's soul here. I love the double meaning here because, of course, you as the main character are literally the prince, and while neither one of you knows it at that point in time, it's poetic that after all of these years, it's actually the prince himself who saves her life and is the catalyst for her awakening, much in the way that she had saved the prince's life before. This awakening also is unique because it shows that Hulkenberg is just built different as a legitimate soldier of the honor guard. She's the only authentic awakening in both games where she's not screaming in pain or struggling through it. She just rips her heart out with an ease that is so casual, you can almost miss it, which of course tells us that she is a knight to be feared that is bred for battle. I think if the atmosphere and the spectacle of the moment was a little bit more enhanced, rather than a nondescript room, maybe I could have this higher, but it's quite strong in spite of lacking in a few areas. A tier.
My name is Aislinn Pacelli Majal Hulkenberg. I am knight, I am commander, and last of the honor guard! Once more, I take up arms in my liege's name!
Joker, I don't know, I kind of feel like I don't need to say much. It's the protagonist awakening to their persona. It's the first awakening in the story. It gets a spiffy anime cutscene that other characters don't get. Kind of feels like automatic S tier, to be fair. A quick note, I love how with Joker's awakening he has a sadistic smile that makes you question if this is even a good thing that's happening or not, if this is your first persona experience like it was for me. Plus bonus points for how Arsene envelops his body. S tier. Junah. Okay, so if you've been hanging with me before now, then you might have seen the character analysis video that I did for Junah. If you did, then you'd recall that I think that her awakening makes sense in the context of who she is as a character. But if we're rating purely like as awakenings, can I really put this into a high tier? She basically just says, lol, I watched you do this twice now, I can do it too, thanks boss, and then awakens. I also feel like maybe it would have been appropriate and unique to have her sing at some point during her awakening. The setting is fine enough even if the foe being Glodell is a bit underwhelming, although that's kind of the entire point of his character, to be fair. I don't know, I feel like they left a lot on the table with Junah. D tier awakening for me.
Still, now that I've seen their power a few times, maybe I can do it myself.
Awaken.
Look at me! What you see now is my commitment to my song! Behold, my voice rises from the depths of my heart!
Kasumi, god, this one is so fucking good. I think pound for pound, this probably has the most deep and profound symbolism of any awakening on this list. In your first playthrough of this moment, you are probably too hyped and distracted by the whole Sailor Moon aesthetic and uniqueness of Kasumi's awakening to even notice, but her awakening here is completely devoid of blood or any real struggle. This is of course because, unlike what she says, she isn't actually Kasumi Yoshizawa. Even her Persona's Awakening quotes are meant to cast doubt in our minds as players, talking about, well, if those really are the shoes you've chosen. But again, I feel like most players wouldn't notice this, or at least I didn't in my first playthrough, but this was also my first Persona game, so If you had played Persona games before this one, please let me know in the comments if you thought something was fishy about Kasumi's awakening. Me personally, I was just like, damn, shorty is built different, what the fuck? The atmosphere here is absolutely ace. You're in a mysterious palace that is unique to others, hearing voices, Kasumi sees her sister, the shadow talks about an unnamed lord. You're really drawn into this moment and you're on the edge of your seat because at this point in the story, you're in a flow and feel like you understand what is happening for the most part, and then you stumble upon this sequence. Man, I can't say enough good about Kasumi's awakening. S tier.
And now you're all branding me a failure? Let me remind you who you're talking to. I am Kasumi Yoshizawa!
So adamant. Rather than accept a life in cinders, you'd strive towards splendor. You know the risks. Well, if those really are the shoes you've chosen, then we'll dance to the end.
This has got to be... Look at that!
I am thou art I. Accept this contract, the spell cast upon you.
Awakening to the King archetype. Well, we know where all the budget went. In a game plagued by subpar cutscene animation, the King archetype awakening looks absolutely pristine. I feel like the one thing that I would have preferred in this moment was if the protagonist didn't need the callouts or reassurance or motivation from his companions. I thought it would have been a fitting conclusion to his journey had he been the one to stand up unprompted and say, I learned a lot from each of you during this journey, and then, insert his monologue about fantasy. The spectacle is definitely there. The King archetype looks amazing, and Moore's monologue gassing you up afterwards is fire, but I think the gripe I mentioned before probably keeps me from putting this anywhere above B tier. This was just a missed opportunity, in my opinion, to really put a bow on the main character's journey and character development and finally have him be the one to, unprompted, take the reins and thank each of his party members for their guidance throughout the journey.
You know, fantasy is more than an empty dream. It's a dream with the power to change the world! Damn you!
Makoto. Okay, so something that I appreciate most about Makoto's awakening is that you probably get the most new information about her in this moment relative to other Persona characters' awakening. For example, Ann's awakening reflects her struggle with her physical appearance and how the world struggles to look past that. Ryuji's awakening reflects how he was always that rebellious kid who has an abrasive nature. And Yusuke's is very artistically coded, but when Makoto awakens and she's got this badass biker outfit with spikes and a motorcycle looking persona, this is all new information about her soul. Up to this point, we only knew her as the meek and obedient student president who just wanted to fit in and stay on top of her academics so that she didn't let her sister down. What's really cool about this awakening is it's very much an oh shit moment in terms of the shock factor of what she looks like post-awakening. Another thing that makes this unique is that is just Makoto's demeanor throughout. I think she's the only character who's basically bossing her persona around. It's just pure audacity, and I love it. The only thing that keeps this from being absolute peak is the context around the moment. Maybe if this took place somewhere interesting, or if it was against somebody with a personal connection to Makoto, I could put this into S tier, but I think A tier is the most I can manage right now.
A persona?
No, dude. It's a bike!
I can feel it. Myself. Me! Got it! Wow! Nice! What is that? I've never seen anything like it.
You better earn your keep, or else I'll kill you!
I will not lose heart again. Ever. I'll go full speed, non-stop. Right, Johanna? Don't get all cocky just because I normally behave myself. I am done playing nice! Let's go, Johanna! Full throttle!
Okay, so Maruki, specifically when he evolves into Adam Cadman. So I think this awakening is really leveled up by the haunting music that plays during it. For me, Throw Away Your Mask is the most underrated Persona song. I love that Maruki's conviction in his ideals is so immense that he's able to evolve his persona and completely reverse the tide after losing the initial battle. What makes this so compelling is the context of this moment. Stakes cannot be higher. This is the final battle, but in final battles, typically the protagonist is the one that gets the last second upgrade, not the antagonist. So for Maruki to get one, it's really a certified goddamn moment. I think the atmosphere and the vibe of this moment couldn't be more climactic. You're battling not just in a palace, but in the actual center of Tokyo, and the clash isn't good versus bad, but rather good versus good. Your ideals are both righteous, the difference lies in the philosophical. So I think when Maruki awakens here, it's one of the few moments in which maybe a little bit of doubt is cast on whether or not you are right, or if the antagonist is right. Extremely captivating stuff. S tier.
Oh.
No, you can't be serious. Maruki, he's done it. He evolved his persona.
Such strength of will.
If it is for everyone's happiness, I don't care what happens to me! Don't resist. Accept it. With my power. No. With mine and Adam Cadmon's together, our reality is nigh! My persona guides me. I refuse to let it end like this. Adam Cadmon, guide us all to our ideal reality.
You're wrong!
Morgana. I don't really need to get too deep into this one. Nothing happens, there's no spectacle. Also, Morgana is a dumb cat.
I am not a cat!
F tier. The protagonist. So, same sentiment as Joker's Awakening. Like, it's automatic S tier by default. So, I guess I'll take a moment here to say that I love the concept of archetypes so much. Every single one is designed in such an aesthetically pleasing and unique way. I love the orange power lines that run through, the concept of ripping your heart out and then shouting your own personal revolution into it. It's peak. But yeah, like I said, the protagonist is S tier. Let's keep it moving.
Engrave thy very heart.
Ryuji, so I don't know, here's the thing. So if there was one Persona awakening that I would point to and say, this is an example of a Persona awakening, it would probably be Ryuji's. I just feel like Ryuji's is very generic. It's not bad. I don't really feel much of anything watching it, but maybe that just reflects my feelings about Ryuji. I quite like Ryuji, but at the same time, I don't really care that much about him. Like, I don't know, he's not very compelling to me. I think he's a good character, I just never really found him very intriguing. And I feel the same about his awakening. C tier.
This one as well.
Right on. What's up, Persona? This effing rocks! Now that I got this power, it's time for payback! Yo, I'm ready. Bring it!
Don't mock me, you brat!
Blast him away, Captain Kid!
Satanael. So if there was a gun to my head and they said pick your favorite Persona in 5 seconds or I shoot, Satanael would most likely be what comes out of my mouth. And not just because he puts the gun to the head of a god and shoots, but because I quite like the symbolism of Joker's awakening with Satanael. Let me explain. In Persona 5 there is a prevalent symbolism when it comes to chains. Chains are meant to represent the warped conditions that adults have molded into societal norms. Chains equal conformity. This is why in each Persona awakening, we see broken chains within the aura of the Persona. The Persona user has awoken to their latent spirit of rebellion and broken the conditioning placed upon them by society. So part of what I love so much about Satanael is the chain that Joker breaks isn't just his own, but it's meant to convey that the masses have chosen correctly in choosing to believe in the Phantom Thieves, and that society has chosen to reject the God of Control by rejecting apathy and committing to believing in the Phantom Thieves and their desire to break the status quo and improve the world. And from that springs forth Satanael. It's brilliant. S tier.
Touch. Man, it's huge!
What an immense power! No way. Is it a Persona?
Pillage him. Satanael!
Be gone.
Preposterous! You dare honor the people's wishes?
Strohl. So for my longtime viewers, you've heard me talk about this one multiple times already, and for good reason. We'll revisit at the end of the video, but I'm looking at this right now, and I'm pretty sure it's the best awakening Atlus has ever done. The atmosphere of the moment is beyond perfect. When Strohl realizes Klinger played a role in his loved ones dying, he's immediately taken back to the day that the human destroyed his village. And I think it's such a good choice to take us too. We see what Strohl sees, and what he sees is his village burning. We alternate between that and reality throughout Strohl's awakening, and it really helps to immerse us in the visceral emotions that Strohl is undergoing in this moment. I love that after Strohl rips his heart out and says his piece, the camera reveals a crowd of people. Obviously we can assume that this is meant to represent and symbolize his dead village, Given the prevalence of magic in Metaphor ReFantazio, and how the protagonist's deceased parents managed to guide the party throughout the game, and also how we see Basilio talk to his dead brother in his awakening, I like to imagine that this is literally Strohl's dead village cheering him on from beyond the grave. I would think that his parents are in this crowd, and I see this as their final goodbye and vote of confidence to Strohl. It's literally such a powerful moment, and to be honest, I have yet to be able to watch it without getting goosebumps. The only place it lacks slightly is the context of it within the story. You're still in the prologue and you're essentially facing a 2-bit villain who ends up dying unceremoniously off screen, but the vibe of this moment, man, it's almost a vibe of melancholy mixed with righteous revenge, and the voice acting is beyond flawless. I think the best way to articulate how good this awakening is that I think it's the best Atlus has ever done in spite of the lifeless facial animations. For now, we'll call this the one above all, King tier.
You struggle in vain! I won't let you rob me of my glory! This is the way of the real world, little lordling!
You call this real? Leaders abandon their people and the innocent die by their scorn. If that's the real world, then it can die alongside you! My name is Leon Strohl the Haliatus. My home and my family were taken from me. I am the last of my house. I am the last of my noble bloodline. And in the name of my people, I will strike you down where you stand! Come! I will show you a world with honor!
Sumire. Okay, so for me personally, the initial Kasumi awakening earlier in the game does kind of lessen the impact of this one. Additionally, prior to this moment, there has been a metric ton of emotional Sumire happening, so I was almost emotionally depleted by the time this happened. I think they could have avoided the lessened impact if she awakened to Vanadis instead in this moment, which of course is her second persona evolution, but at the same time, I understand why they stuck with Cendrillon here. I do love how this represents her self-acceptance after such a long time rejecting reality through Dr. Maruki's therapy. I love that she sees her sister here, which represents just how deeply her sister remains within her heart. It's certainly an emotional awakening. I'm just not sure if there's enough here to distinguish it and put it anywhere above B tier.
The weak, insecure Sumire dies today! Violet! You were the one. The only one who stayed true to yourself! Come, Cendrillon! If you don't answer my call now, how else can we make our dream come true?
Such tenacity. It seems to fit you better than ever before. The glass slippers are the icon of glory. Not just for you, but the other girl within you as well. I am thou art I. Are you prepared for your debut? The ball awaits.
Certainly.
Yusuke. I'm gonna keep it 100. Yusuke's awakening gives me life, man. I love everything about it. Let's start with the context in the story. I think it's a huge benefit that the palace ruler is somebody who is so close to Yusuke. Of course, Madarame is Yusuke's adopted father. I think to find out that a loved one is such a deplorable and depraved individual will leave most people in a state of shock for quite a while. But I think it really speaks to Yusuke's character and the strength of his spirit that pretty quickly he's able to accept the truth and embrace his spirit of rebellion. As Yusuke is struggling to awaken, he's clawing the floor so hard that blood runs from his fingers. While it might make some people cringe, I actually love this decision because as we know, Yusuke is an artist and the blood here is reminiscent to me of a painter's brush strokes. I love small visual illusions like this as they serve to enhance the atmosphere of the moment. I also love how after Yusuke awakens, bro immediately turns into a poet and drops some of the hardest bars. For me, that totally enhances the vibe of the moment and gives us some great insight into Yusuke's personality. His quirkiness and artistic precociousness are mixed with a strong sense of justice. And this moment is the moment that he realizes and embraces that his moral compass cannot allow him to abide in justice. He awakens. Also, what's more vibey than that maniacal smile he gives at the end after you banter him a bit? S tier.
A breathtaking sight. Imitations they may be, but together they make a fine spectacle. Though the flowers of evil blossom, be it known, abominations are fated to perish!
Whoa, this is impressive!
Who do you think you are? The price for your insolence will be death! Where are my guards? Kill them all!
The children who adored you as father. The prospects of your pupils. How many did you trample upon? How many dreams did you exchange for riches? No matter what it takes, I will bring you to justice! Very well, bring it on!
You are in the presence of Lord Maruki! On your knees, intruders!
I learned much from you, Madarame. In order to see authenticity, one must be dispassionately realistic. With Goemon by my side, I can now ascertain your true self without any reservations!
Eupha. So Eupha's awakening is probably one of the only awakenings that can hold a candle to Kasumi's from the symbolic point of view. By this I mean they have layers of symbolism that aren't readily obvious upon first viewing. I made an entire video analyzing Eupha as a character, and in that video I highlighted the beautiful symbolism in her awakening scene. To give you the SparkNotes version, in the game of chess, pawns are the only pieces that can gain promotion and transform into queens if they reach the other side of the board. Basically, Eupha's mask represents her status as a pawn, and in her archetype awakening scene, it shatters. Her awakening to her archetype symbolizes her ascension into a queen. If you're interested in learning more about this, definitely recommend watching my video on it once you're done with this one. I think this awakening scene also has some pretty weighty context within the story too, as you've just reached the end of the longest dungeon in the game, which you traverse with the intent of saving Eupha from death. As you journeyed through it, you found implications that the priestess's sacrifice was wrong, and you had dread building that the innocent cinnamon roll that is Eupha might be lost to such a pointless death too. Then you reach your goal and you encounter a dragon controlled by a human, not a dragon god. Things do feel extremely dire, and it does feel like you need something extra, something to break your way to turn the tides, and Eupha choosing life after spending her entire existence learning to accept her death is that thing. Man, it's so cool to me that her main reason is that she simply loves people and wants to save them. S tier.
I love that island. I love the smell of its verdant flora. But what I love more than anything is its people. Their words may be coarse, but their hearts are true. I must save them. Please!
Thank you. Thou hast chosen a noble parting. Henceforth, thy fears and insecurities become thy light. O Lodestar, whose light reveals the king's own path, awaken!
If I cannot save them in death, then I swear I'll protect them with my life!
Okay, so if I were to order this, alright, so let's take a look and see. I think Junah's is better than Haru's. It's just not for me, man. That one's not for me. Ryuji and An are pretty neck and neck, but I feel like I would say Ryuji's is better. Heismay, King, Sumire. honestly, I feel like that's a good order. Makoto, Basilio, Hulkenberg, I like that placement as well. S tier is where it gets interesting. Also, I feel like most times I do tier lists, if they're about these games, it's going to be pretty top heavy like this, because these games are wonderful. Let's see, Akechi, Futaba. I love Kasumi's, man. It's so good. I say Kasumi and then Yusuke. Joker's is really good. Tell you what, I'll put the Protagonist Awakenings towards the bottom just because they're almost like default S tier Awakenings, right? I'd probably slot the Eupha right here just because the symbolism of this awakening is really deep. Like, again, if you haven't seen that video I made about it, please go watch it because it's really good. I like this list. The only thing that I would consider changing is I would consider having Kasumi also in King tier, just to have like a joint situation. I feel like for me, it was just so shocking to see what the implications were from Kasumi's awakening after the fact, because again, I saw that the first time and I was just like, damn, like Kasumi is literally the GOAT, but man, the way that they revealed the reasons for why that awakening looked like that was just, it was so peak. So just because of the veiled symbolism in that one, I think combined with everything else, I would have it in the King tier, but firmly Strohl is number 1 and I would say Kasumi is number 2. I just feel like Kasumi is so good that it deserves to be in that tier as well. But yeah, I think I'm happy with this. I like the way that this looks, honestly. But I think it does deserve saying that, like, I have to put these into tiers, right? But in a general scale, like, I love all of these awakenings besides maybe Morgana. Like, there's just nothing there. So even D tier, like, it might have been cringe. I might have found Haru's cringy, but I can respect it and understand it, and I wouldn't call it bad. It's just personally not for me. And Junah's, like I mentioned before, like, I went over that in her character analysis video, why Junah's makes sense. Her awakening does make sense. So it's not that I don't like the writing, it's just I have to make the tiers. So please, nobody take any of this personally. Okay, y'all, so this video is the second tier list that I've done. The first one was a ranking of every single character in Metaphor ReFantazio. I want to sincerely thank each one of you that was here when that dropped a few months ago. Like, thank you so much for being here, and I'd like to extend that same thanks to any of you who have only caught a few minutes here or there, or even if this is your first video, like, literally thank you so much for being here. I know I'm like a broken record at this point, but I'll never stop being grateful for each one of you. Now, definitely comment your thoughts on this one as always. I'm eager to chat with you. If you're watching and you're not subscribed, come right in and join us. Subscribe and hit the bell for notifications. I'm sitting here right now recording for us, and we're almost at 700 subscribers, which means that there's almost 700 of us sitting in this room discussing video games and a few other random things like anime and life in general. Like, seriously, guys, this is incredible to me. I'm literally in awe as I say these things, or I should say we are in awe as we say these things. Never forget that you all are the main reason I make these videos, so whatever is going on in your life, you are legitimately valued and appreciated here. If you enjoyed the video, please drop a like and let me know. Also, let me know if there's other tier lists you'd like me to make. I'm thinking this could be a cool recurring video series for us on the channel, alongside of the more in-depth character analysis vids. Anyways, check out the other videos on my channel for more content like this, and have a great day, night, or morning, and remember to be kind and thoughtful. Peace.